Technology gods are going to be on my side because I have all these multimedia things for you. To begin with, to do a little intro into the class, I was actually on a production of a BBC documentary last year on the legacy of Émile Coué. And so I was going to play just a little bit of an intro about that. It was a radio documentary, and it was really fun to do. Most of the actually, I'll give you a link at some point later that's got the whole thing that you can listen to. I'm only going to give you the first minute and a half here. But most of the background info for the show came from me. They also interviewed other experts, but there's parts where, like actors act out parts from the 1920s when this was current news, and all those parts were stuff that came from my historical documents. So that was kind of fun. It's really a cool project.
There is a hush over the room.
Can't see it.
Some of us feel as if we had just heard the voice of Moses issuing a commandment. We should be telling our grandchildren that we heard day by day in every way from Coué himself.
The breathless epiphany of a New York journalist writing in January 1923. And although those grandchildren might not be too clear who Coué, that's Frenchman Émile Coué, actually was, his famous mantra, at least, has survived pretty much intact.
Day by day, every way, I'm getting better and better.
My mother grew up reading about his little day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Lisa Halpin is a practicing hypnotherapist from San Francisco and an authority on Coué.
When I was a little girl, you know how little kids always want to do something that's past their capability as a little kid, and I was frustrated that I couldn't do whatever this was. My mom took me aside and said, no, that's not true. Every day in every way, you're getting better and better. She told me the story. There was this little man that came to the United States when she was a little girl, and he taught people this. And from her recollections, it helped her get through the rough times during the Depression on the farm in the East Hills of Tennessee, that this was stuff that had become now part of popular culture and was still talked about even though he was now passed.
Tous les jours, à tout point de vue, je vais de mieux en mieux.
Is Monsieur Coué's original French version, which lacks the nice and easy rhyming of day with way in the English.
I thought that would be nice to let Coué introduce himself there. That scratchy, little tiny high-pitched voice was an original recording of Coué from the 1920s when he was in America. So that's kind of a cool thing. And that's kind of my intro, too, that I was brought up this way. My mom was born in the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee in the December of 1922, which was about when Coué was starting to embark on his trip on the White Star Line from Europe to New York. So he arrived when she was just a baby. And it was quite still news as she was a young child herself years later during the Depression. He was like a rock star. I mean, it was like a tabloid thing when Coué came to America. So, I mean, he was no Brad Pitt, but if there had been the National Enquirer, he would have been a story. So that gives you a little bit of a background. So who was he? What was he? And what was he not?